It's time now for story number 8. 1 year after the tragedy of Newtown, Connecticut, the nation remains as divided as ever on gun control, and there have been numerous mass shootings that included a teen accused of killing his family in Albuquerque's South Valley. Numerous efforts to pass stiffer gun laws in various states failed, including legislation in New Mexico. Lawmakers tried to pass soon after the South Valley killings. Now, Tripp, right after the Newtown shootings came our shooting here locally, and it was such a difficulty, I think, for a lot of people. But on the issues of guns, it was interesting to see the push after Newtown and then locally here, but it really didn't go anywhere with gun control. What do you attribute that to in the overall?
Well, I think, I mean, where do we start? I mean, honestly, I think there's a lot of money in this issue coming from the NRA. At the congressional level, there's a lot of money coming, saying, you know, you go this way and you might face a primary. I think, and people are, this is an emotional issue, extraordinarily emotional issue. I remember writing a story about the Tricor lab shootings here, and I wrote a story about how you couldn't find out who has a concealed weapon permit. And I wrote a story back when I worked for the Independent, and I posted that online, and within 2 minutes, there were people saying, you're calling me names and all this other stuff. Unfortunately, I grew up in the Deep South, grew up hunting. This is not that I've been not around guns, but this is extraordinarily emotional for folks, and cutting through the emotion about horse slaughter, guns amp it up by 10 times, I think.
Absolutely. Rachel, you know, our neighbor state, Colorado, recent shootings we're talking about here, politically it's been fascinating to watch Democrats get very much pressured in their support of that gun bill up there. 2 got run out of office, a third one resigned because the petition vote was going to be a difficulty for the party. I have to imagine this gives pause to folks who do want to have gun control in our state. People are losing seats over it. So where does this whole fulcrum, what's the lever point here for people that do want to have gun control? It seems very, very, very distant at this point.
Well, the issue really does get at so many of the core things in American life, you know, the right to safety versus the right to keep and bear arms, the right to protect yourself. And it does seem like after every mass shooting, every shooting in a community, you see a big push, people trying to get legislation moving forward, an outpouring of grief, and people start talking about wanting to have more gun control, and yet it never happens. So it seems like the supporters of gun control probably need to come up with a way to frame it that's not so tied to what just happened, you know, a broader approach in some way.
It's interesting, and Russell also throw in there is the issue of the clip with the multiple ammunition. That didn't even really kind of get dealt with. So even chipping away at it a little bit has been a difficulty for folks.
Exactly. I think Rachel hit this up, is that the gun control support groups, they are not as organized as, say, the NRA. They're not as well funded. Now, there's still, you know, there have been attempts to organize them, but they're still in their infancy. They still need to get organized to press and to change a narrative.
What's missing from their narrative, in your view?
But I think again, it's another urban versus rural argument. And then what happens is that when we have the discussions, when ideas are just floated out there, let's look at the magazines, you see the cost of ammo go up. Then you have people who are gun owners like, well, wait a minute, now you're messing with my livelihood, my hobby here. I was neutral, but now the cost of ammo has gone so up, and then my AR-15 is now double or triple in cost. We need to do something.
That's right. Please.
There's an enthusiasm gap. You know, gun control supporters do not show up on these days at the state capitol here. And gun rights supporters, they come, they give money, they are motivated, they're vocal, and they're very powerful. I thought it was interesting to see in this state legislature, in the Senate, which is notoriously cozy, even across the aisle when it comes to personal issues. After all these members of this state senator's family were killed, this legislature failed to do anything. It's about money and it's about politics at the end of the day. And you know, the NRA has spent $50,000 in New Mexico over the past decade. That's more than Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, Maryland, more than half the states in the country. $50,000 in New Mexico.
Wow.
This is a cheap state to do business
That's right.
in.
50K will go a long way. Absolutely. Interesting.
Well, you know, I want to say too that you know, this is a really difficult issue because we mentioned the Griego shooting, we mentioned Sandy Hook, we mentioned Aurora. You know, there's also mental health issues. This is an extraordinary. It's not easy. This is an extraordinarily difficult issue. In Connecticut passed probably the most stringent of gun control laws, and even Republicans support it because it was right there. It was 20 children.
Right.
But this is really difficult because there are a lot of people out there who are very responsible for their guns. And they feel put upon by this stuff, and all of a sudden everybody starts focusing on gun ownership. And it's hard to separate out these kind of like outliers with people who own guns and who hunt or whatever. It's very difficult.
Background checks, that's the big one for a lot of folks too. And very quick, with under 30 seconds here. That seems to be the point of entry for a lot of states, just simply, and federally as well, just simply doing a background check to get those mental health issues. We're still a ways away from having resolution on that, though, aren't we?
Right, definitely. I mean, here in the West, I think it's especially a battle. It's the question of individual rights, individual privacy.
That's right. Interesting. Now, number 7, Albuquerque became ground zero nationally for anti-abortion protesters, many of whom came from outside the state to push for a late-term ban of 20 weeks. They didn't get it on the ballot for the mayoral race, but in a special election in November, the proposal failed. Abortion opponents say they will continue to push for a ban on the procedure at the legislature. And Russell, the special election, as we all know here at this table, got a bigger turnout than the mayoral turnout, which was pretty interesting. However, these folks are pressing on, going to Valencia County, then north of Santa Fe in late January, excuse me, for the legislature. What are their chances, first off, in Valencia County, in your view? Better than here, or if not, why?
Valencia County is a little better. I mean,
Okay.
it's a smaller, it's more conservative. I teach there. It's a very religious community, so they have a better chance there. Now, will this serve as what they want as a launching pad for something greater, get the attention? Remains to be seen, because it's still a small community. However, I do think that national folks will still come in here and say, well, this is our ground zero number 2 to try to get this in. They may bring in Dolores Huerta again down here to come out and speak. They may get national figures. But at the end of the day, will that affect the larger urban areas in New Mexico? I don't think so. I do think that it is an attempt to localize a national debate that is not going away, and these small victories that both sides will rack up will say, look, this is if you're keeping score, this is one for us.
Sure.
It's just that attempt.
Sure. Yeah, I have to wonder why they didn't start in Valencia County. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I get it for here. I mean, it's the Emerald City here in New Mexico. It's the biggest city and all that. But you got to have a win first before maybe you
Well, this is where the
step into
clinic
it.
is in Albuquerque. And
Good
so
point,
it was a
good
very
point.
visible
Yeah.
thing. I was fascinated by the whole episode. I thought it was interesting because these outside groups came in, made some really visible fumbles. New Mexicans don't like outsiders coming in and telling them what to do and what's right and wrong. And I think New Mexicans also have a very strong sense of privacy and minding their own business. And to come in and demonstrate in front of the Holocaust Museum, bad idea.
Stepping inside of it.
You're right. And, protesting outside that doctor's home, a lot of people, no matter what side they were on, were like, whoa, that's maybe going too far. The truth truck that kept driving around campus, young people are much more anti-abortion than they used to be, but they did not like that truck. My students were freaked out by the truck. It just went too far. So I think that damaged the campaign here. They probably will learn from those mistakes as they move on to Valencia County. Will it go anywhere in the legislature? No.
Interesting. On that very point, I was curious, if they get a win in Valencia County, does that fundamentally mean anything in Santa Fe, or is it just the same as it was before?
I'm with Gwyneth. That doesn't. Frankly, the way it'll take one senator in the Senate to kill it. It'll take one lawmaker in the House to kill it. The legislatures are very. It's designed to kill things, not to pass things.
Right.
And I'm not joking that it is designed to kill things. And thank goodness for that. There are a lot of bills that come out that are like, wow.
Right.
There's a lot of terrible ideas out there.
Yeah, so in Valencia County, I see this as like this larger than factual scientific kind of debate. This is competing narratives and is symbolic, and I hate to be this way, and I sound skeptical and even cynical, but it's also about raising a lot of money. Abortion is about a lot of money.
Right.
Political raising a lot of money for things that can pay for other things.
But the anti-abortion folks had, they had motivation. They had the support of the churches. They had this of the, mega churches of the Catholic Church. They had manpower. They had boots on the ground. They brought in young people from all over the country. I think you can't underestimate You know, the pro-choice people have money, the anti-abortion folks have boots on the ground.
Well, I'm not underestimating, but these competing narratives. It was very interesting on my Facebook page. I posted, what happened, the story that, the results and whatnot, and it was very intriguing to see some of my friends say this is sad because there is a slaughter going on that's larger than any Holocaust, and then somebody coming on and saying, well, somebody who's pro-choice would say, well, how would you like it if somebody told you that you couldn't do something and control of the body? Competing narratives.
Rachel, it's interesting how when you watch this all play out over the course of the year, it seemed like early on a lot of momentum was really on the side of the folks who were opponents, boots on the ground, and all that just seemed, but the people spoke quite loudly here.
Yes.
It was very interesting to see. And there were certain kinds of, defeats are not all the same.
Right.
You can squeak one out, you can kind of think, maybe we could have done something a little bit better. That was a fairly resounding no from this community. And I'm curious what that means statewide. Are people more empowered to say no now?
I think what it was is Gwyneth touched on it. People here, this is a complex community, and I think there was some resentment of the idea that folks were coming in here and telling people what to do. The supporters of this ordinance probably saw some demographics here that they liked, but it's complicated.
Sure.
You see a large population of Catholics, which certainly the Catholic Church is
That's right.
pro-life.
On paper, it looked pretty solid.
But then you have
equitable
Catholics for Choice, this
right.
group coming out and saying we actually
That's right.
support
That's
the
right.
the pro-choice.
My sense of it is I saw just a really interesting rise of women here. Just women's voices really kind of punched over the top here and really kind of settled the issue, as they say. That was very interesting to watch. Now, just ahead, politics is always top story in New Mexico. We talk with the man behind a national magazine piece on a controversial figure who helped get Governor Susana Martinez elected. That would be Jay McCleskey.